I met Anna in college. We were inseparable, laughing through bad relationships, sleepless study nights, and eventual adulting. She was the type who lit up a room, and I was always content being the quieter one standing beside her. When she met Mark, I was skeptical at first. He seemed too polished, too perfect, but he made her happy, and that mattered. They got married after 2 years of dating. I stood beside her in a pale blue bridesmaid dress, crying happy tears. Mark became a part of our world seamlessly. He wasn't just Anna's husband, he became a friend. He had this calm, steady energy that balanced Anna's whirlwind spirit. Over the years, we all fell into a rhythm. Game nights, dinner parties, lazy Sundays. Sometimes I felt like a third wheel, but it never felt uncomfortable. Anna even joked that if anything ever happened to her, I should take care of Mark. I laughed it off. I watched them closely, though, not because I was envious. At least, not at first. But Mark had this way of listening. When I spoke, he paid full attention, never looking at his phone or distracted. It was rare. It felt special. I dismissed it as basic decency, something most people just forgot to practice. A few months ago, Anna started complaining more. She said Mark had become distant. She suspected work stress, maybe even boredom. She didn't seem overly worried, but the sparkle in her eyes dimmed a little when she talked about him. She told me they hadn't been intimate in months, that he barely looked at her anymore. I didn't know what to say. I listened, nodding, occasionally offering hollow encouragement like, maybe he's just going through something. I started noticing Mark's silences, too. He smiled less, made fewer jokes. His posture had changed. He looked tired. I didn't ask. It wasn't my place, but something felt off. Then one night, I found myself looking at him differently. We were at their apartment, watching a movie after Anna had fallen asleep on the couch. I caught myself watching him, not the screen. The shape of his hands, the way his jaw tensed when he was thinking. I snapped out of it, feeling ridiculous. A line had been drawn in my mind, and I had always known better than to cross it. But something had shifted, subtly, quietly. The next day, I tried to shake the feeling off. I reminded myself, he's married to my best friend. This is wrong. I convinced myself it was just a moment, that I was projecting emotions that didn't exist. But deep down, I felt the pull. Not lust, not love, just something complicated, blurry, and unspoken. Still, I didn't do anything, not then. But in that moment, a door opened. A door I should have closed immediately, but didn't. Maybe part of me was already waiting to see what was on the other side. Anna had to travel for a 5-day conference out of town. She asked me to swing by and check on Mark while she was away. Drop off a charger she forgot. Water the plants. Just casual stuff. I said sure, not thinking much of it. When I arrived, Mark looked surprised but smiled. He said he hadn't realized how quiet the apartment would feel without her. I stayed a bit longer than planned, just talking. It felt innocent. We sat with coffee. The conversation drifted from work to memories, to things Anna had told each of us in confidence. Mark opened up. He said things had been hard lately, not just with Anna, but in general. He said he felt like a ghost in his own life, like he was going through the motions. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't expecting that kind of vulnerability. I listened. It felt personal, private, and I didn't walk away. The next day, I came back with something Anna asked me to drop off. Mark invited me in again. This time, there was wine. It was early evening. We talked for hours. There was something about the quiet and the soft lighting that made everything feel too comfortable. Mark laughed at one of my stories and leaned in a little too close. I noticed. I didn't move. Nothing happened, but I left with my heart beating too fast. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed the conversation over and over. His eyes, the way he spoke to me, the pauses between our words. I kept telling myself it was just the wine, just loneliness, nothing else. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I told myself that over and over. But the next time I saw him, it was different. Everything felt charged. He complimented my dress, casually, but it lingered in the air longer than it should have. We weren't flirting, not really. But something unspoken had begun to pulse between us, thick with possibility and danger. I ignored it as best I could, but it followed me around like a shadow. Anna called me that night. She told me she missed Mark, but was also enjoying the break. She said it was good to have space. I felt sick hearing her voice, her trust so casual, so undeserved. I wanted to hang up, but forced myself to keep the conversation light. Mark texted me late. Just a simple, "Thanks for today." I stared at the message too long before replying, "Of course." Harmless. I told myself it was harmless. Still, I started dressing a little more carefully before I went over. I paid more attention to my hair, my scent. Not because I wanted anything to happen, but because something already had. Not physically, not yet. But emotionally, mentally, that line had blurred. And once it starts to blur, it doesn't take much to disappear completely. Anna returned, and something between us all had shifted. She hugged me like usual, but her eyes lingered, as if she sensed something she couldn't name. She said the trip had been good, exhausting, but productive. Mark greeted her like normal, polite and warm, but there was a stiffness neither of us could explain away. I stayed for dinner that night. We laughed, drank, ate. But every time Mark looked at me, it felt heavy, like a secret hanging between us. Over the next week, Anna became quieter. She mentioned that Mark was still withdrawn. She asked if he'd said anything to me while she was away. I told her he hadn't. It wasn't a lie exactly, just not the full truth. She seemed to accept that, but I noticed her watching me more closely. The space between all of us kept shifting, tightening. It happened the night of a friend's birthday. We all went out. Drinks, music, dancing. On the way back, Anna fell asleep in the car. Mark and I sat in silence. When we got to their place, he offered me a drink before calling it a night. I should have said no, but I didn't. I followed him into the kitchen. The moment felt unreal. Too quiet. Too close. He poured the drink and handed it to me. Our fingers brushed. I didn't move. He looked at me for a second too long, then he kissed me. I didn't pull away. I didn't even hesitate. Everything after that happened too fast, but also too slowly. The kind of moment you watch yourself live through, as if outside your body. I heard Anna's voice in my head, every laugh we'd shared, every story, every memory. And still, I didn't stop. We crossed the line. Fully, finally. When it was over, we said nothing. I left without looking back. I barely slept. The guilt didn't hit me like a wave. It bled in slowly, cold and sharp. I wanted to tell myself it had been a mistake, a fluke, but that would have been a lie. I had felt it coming. I had let it come. That made it worse. The next day, Mark texted, "We need to talk." I didn't respond. What was there to say? There was no version of this where things could go back to normal. I avoided Anna for a few days, told her I was swamped with work. She sent me pictures of them at brunch, laughing, holding hands. I stared at them too long. I felt like an intruder. In a moment of panic, I almost confessed. I picked up my phone, typed out everything, then deleted it. What would it fix? The damage was already done, and it was ugly, Not dramatic, not romantic, just selfish, weak, and real. Anna found out 3 days later. I didn't hear it from her. I heard it from Mark. He called, voice flat, and said, "She knows." I didn't ask how. I didn't ask what happened next. I just sat in silence. I heard him breathing, waiting for me to say something. I couldn't. He said, "She's gone." Then the line went dead. Later that night, Anna showed up at my door. Her face was unreadable. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just asked, "Why?" I opened my mouth, but no words came out. What was I supposed to say? That I didn't mean to? That I wasn't thinking? That it just happened? None of it would have mattered. She looked at me like I was a stranger, like everything we'd ever shared was now a lie. Then she left, and I didn't stop her. Mark tried to talk to her. I know he did. He messaged me, saying she moved in with her sister, wasn't answering calls. He said he missed her. I didn't reply. We didn't speak again after that. Whatever there had been, lust, confusion, that fleeting connection, it crumbled under the weight of reality. The guilt turned into something uglier. Shame, not just for what I'd done to Anna, but for who I'd let myself become. I deleted all our texts, every picture. I tried to scrub the memory, but it stayed. I stopped going to our usual coffee shop. I unfollowed mutual friends. I didn't want to face the reflection of who I was now. I told people we drifted, that Anna was busy, that I was focusing on myself. All lies. But easier than the truth. Weeks passed, then months. I heard through someone that Anna filed for divorce, that Mark moved out of the city. No one mentioned me. My name wasn't in the conversation. It was like I'd been erased. And maybe that was the fairest thing of all. I kept thinking about the moment before it happened. The second, right before that first kiss. If I had just stood up, walked away, said no, everything could have been different.